Hi, my name is Hannah.
Hello.
Thank you very much for answering our questions. First of all, congratulations on the success of the After Film series. When you look at Perfect Addiction now, you get the impression that a new universe of special law films is being created here. How you see that? Is a universe possibly planned?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, that's what everybody's hoping for. We'll see if it actually happens, but I think that these characters, there's a lot to mine. And what's really wonderful about the world of Perfect Addiction is that you have that physical component where you're not having to create fights out of nothing. Like there's actual, sometimes life or death stakes. So it feels a little more uh, authentic and like grounded in the circumstances of the film. Like the drama comes more naturally than sticking, two people in a relationship where they're kind of causing their own drama, which is interesting too. But I really liked that the stakes are just so much higher.
Yeah. The film is about a love triangle. Is it narratively more difficult than with classic relationships between two people? How do you find the balance between the characters?
Yeah, that was a challenge for us to find the levels there because you don't want one to be so unlikable, but you also you have to kind of motivate why Sienna is pulled towards Jax, who does these awful things. And I mean, I think if you spend any time in a room with Matthew, you will know exactly why she's pulled to him. Um, but also then to Kayden, who's like the kind of brooding. He's like a different take because he's not the brooding bad boy. He's like a brooding good boy. Um, and I think that I don't know, as a woman, like I have always felt that tension of like, who do you go for? Do you go for like the safe bet? Do you go for the guy that's really into you and caring, and or do you go for this other person? And also, they will all, I think, regardless of gender or anything, like romantic partners will always at some point let you down. So it's like a difficult, and also, conversely, they'll be great. But like it it just feels real, right? To like have to decide who to go with, and like there is no right answer. I don't necessarily think. Maybe there is.
Yeah, maybe you're right. And frequently you write the scripts for your films, but for Perfect Addiction, Stephanie Sennett was responsible for the script. Does that
Mhm.
make it more difficult to implement the preparation? More difficult? Is it more difficult than developing the story and the characters yourself in advance through writing because you also kind of grow with it?
Yeah, I definitely. I think it's much easier. I mean, I like my preferred situation would be to take a book and be able to adapt it myself because I do love um, the collaboration that you kind of get when you're like when you have a book that's brought to you. It's been vetted by a bunch of people. It's not just you sitting in a room coming up with whatever. So I do love adapting. It was a learning curve to kind of take over a project that had already been written, because you do feel a distance, a narrative distance, or an emotional distance from it. But at some point, you just like, I ended up doing a bunch of drafts of the script myself. So I kind of came in, and the more I worked on it, the more it became more like firsthand to me. And I don't know if that's always the situation, if directors always do that, but that's kind of how my process worked. There was a lot of development that needed to be done, characters that were shifted around or completely changed. So I did get to work on the script quite a bit, and that helped a lot. I mean, helped a lot in terms of like really seeing it for my own self, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Okay. And often your films are labeled as toxic, a harsh statement. How do you see that? On the one hand, the after films, as example, are very popular with younger audiences. Among the older generations, classified as dangerous, at least here in Germany. What do you think could be the reason for that?
Well, I think that a lot of relationships are toxic. And so, you know, we want to see that because it's important to see that because, first of all, it's fun, escapist stories that you can kind of like imagine what you would do in those circumstances and how maybe you would respond differently. And that's all really helpful. Like going through those exercises when you're a young person, seeing what is a good example and what is a bad example, I think are important. And when you're watching them, like whether you're envisioning yourself as Tessa or as Sienna or what have you, I think it's kind of an emotional exercise to go through, as well as just kind of escapist, fun, and indulgent. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that indulgence. Like, men have porn. This is just something that is told from the female gaze or through the female gaze. And I would argue that it's significantly healthier than like unrealistic portrayals that are aimed at fulfilling male fantasies.
Yeah. And finally, what was your personal best moment at Perfect Addiction and why? What can everyone look forward to?
What do you mean best personal moment? Like what scene do I like most, or are you talking about like in actually making the film?
Maybe both. The work and maybe also the fun in the scenes.
Well, I am most proud of the fight scenes because I had never done fight scenes to that level before, and I sort of fell in love with it. I think that they're grueling to shoot. They're very difficult, but also so fun. And I just love the way that they came together. And I'm super grateful that I had, that the production company gave me the resources to actually accomplish what was on the page. Because oftentimes they're like, here's this giant fight, but you have to film it in 6 hours. And it's like, how do you do that and make it look good? So I'm really grateful for that. And also being given an amazing stunt coordinator to work with. And cinematographer. Like there's so many pieces that go into that, and it's just I'm super proud when I watch those scenes. And then what is the next part of the question?
The most fun at the work.
Oh, the most fun. The fight scenes were grueling, so I can't say that those were super fun, especially for the actors. I know Ross was struggling because he was on some like really strict diet. And then the romance scenes, we shot them all at the end, so we were all kind of sad to go home. Maybe some of the stuff in the very beginning was the most fun because we were in this like really great location, and there's just a new energy that comes with filming something. Everybody's like, fresh. And yeah, I think that and we had like Manu there, and all of the cast was there at the beginning of it. So that was, as you get into the shoot, people start going away. So I think, honestly, it was just such a great cast, like both on screen and off, that it was really fun to be able to just like hang out with them, collaborate with them. They're just great. It brings a smile to my face just thinking about them because they're just so wonderful.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for the interview and greetings from Germany.
Thank you.
Kayden Williams ist der nächste Champion. Und ich sorge dafür, dass er dich fertig macht.
Willst du Teil von sowas sein? Du kannst dabei draufgehen.
Du lässt deine Deckung fallen.